Without further
Yeah.
ado, passing the torch with Joshua Alvord starts now. First and foremost, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. How was that bio and intro?
Oh yeah, it was definitely very encapsulating for, just describing me and, I'm just really thankful to be here, thankful to be on the podcast and
Yeah.
yeah, let's have a good time.
Nah, man, I'm excited about this. I'm just gonna make sure we're recording because I've made that mistake in the past. Hey, did I get your last name right? I know we kind of rehearsed it, but I still want to make sure I said it correctly.
Yes, Alvord.
Alvord. All right, man. First question: why is life great right now?
Oh, I'm at a really good point in my life. I'm at a job that I love. I get paid to look good and serve, be the face of the Air Force in the aspect of, being a pallbearer and being a body bearer and um, it having the history of my parents being in the Air Force and retiring, and then also having other family members do the same thing. Um, you know, I think it's been a subtle calling for me. And then I have, my passion in fitness, with powerlifting and then previously bodybuilding. Um, so yeah, I just, I'm blessed. I have my beautiful family. I have my wife. I have my two sons. They're the light of my day every day. And I'm just really grateful to be able to provide for them and then have a great life with them. But yeah, I think that's really why life is just so good.
That's amazing. I love your genuine response and the fact that you've been in for 8 years, just a smile on your face. And I'm retiring after 23 years. I'll be retiring this year, but it just warms my heart to know there's people like you who are going to continue passing that torch. And shout out to mom and dad. Thank you for your
Yes.
service. Yeah, shout out to mom and
Yes.
dad, and also shout out for raising such an incredible and amazing young man. Yeah, so they have a lot to be proud of. You mentioned that the face of the Air Force and that you love your job. You're more than just a face, because people when they see the face, they're going to think of like that awesome smile that you have and the, and the clean cut. But when we talk about you actually in your uniform, at providing a service or rendering customs and courtesies and all that, you were more than just a face. It's almost the actual example, the epitome of heritage and honor and discipline and all those things. But what made you want to join the honor guard?
So, I was previously stationed at Herbert Field, Special Operations Base, and I was maintenance by trade, but we had the base honor guard unit, and that immediately drew my interest because of how clean they looked, how sharp they were, and the mission there. And so, uh, I was gracious enough to get permission from my, flight leadership to be able to go and do an 8 month tour. And in those 8 months, I had incredible opportunities to meet high-ranking individuals, get highlighted for hard work, be a trainer, and it really molded me into what I saw myself wanting to do more of. And I was fortunate enough to get training from Air Force Honor Guard. They came down and did a group training with multiple different bases, and I eventually got the green light to go ahead and submit my package to come here. And the first time I didn't get the thumbs up from my flight leadership and from my commander. But then the second time, I took it into my own hands and made sure that I did get here. And it's been nothing short of just a dream.
That's amazing. So, were you part of the joint task force for President Carter's funeral?
I was for the Capital team. I was the joint team, joint Bodybearers team for President Carter. Yes.
Obviously, it's sad because it means he has passed away. But just what did it mean to you just to have that honor to even serve as part of that detail, and especially of that high magnitude?
It was it really I still to this day I don't really like it hits me in waves of what I did, and what I was a part of. And I'm just beyond grateful. I don't think I could thank my leadership enough. I don't think I can thank, my colleagues or my peers enough for, letting me be in the position to do something of this magnitude. And then on top of that, it is more sentimental being able to having been able to carry President Carter um, for his funerary events, but then also I carried um, Rosalind Carter in Atlanta, and so it's it was I don't know I don't know how to describe this, the feeling of how sentimental it is, but being able to first lay his wife to rest and then be a part of the teams that honored him and then laid him to rest. It's almost like a full circle, like, I did it for the family, I did it for, the armed forces, I did it for America, and it's not about me. It's not about me, it's for, honoring such a great man and a great couple who were the face of our country.
Yeah, and I saw that you had performed as part of that service, and that's why I opened up with that quote for this episode based on that. So I want to take it back a little bit. It seems like you've accomplished a lot in 8 years, but if I were if we were to go back to the moment when you first walked into that recruiter's office, or even like your first day graduating or first day in basic training, and someone told you like, "Hey, Joshua, in 8 years you're gonna be doing working for the Air Force Honor Guard." What would you think, or what? Yeah, what would you say in that moment?
So I don't know. I definitely I really, especially enlisting and like going into the recruiters and even my first day in basic, like I was really just taking it day by day. It was one of those things after I graduated and moved back to the States that it was like, okay, I either need to figure something out and, take the route that I wanted to, which was like, just getting a job, going to college, or listening to my parents. My mom was like, "Hey," she's like, "just go in and just see what's up."
The
And
family business.
yeah, it was really like I kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't want to call it a setup, but it was like, okay, it was stability, it was promising, and I don't know, I wouldn't say, Airman Basic or trainee Alvord would have ever thought that he was going to be in the Air Force Honor Guard.
Does your mom ever just make sure you know, like, "Hey, I was right," or "I told you so"?
I don't think no, because yeah, like usually she just always expresses how proud of me she is. Like regardless of whatever decision I would have made, she was always very supportive. But I always have gone to her for guidance, to see like, okay, well, I'm trying this out, I'm doing this, and she'll just be like, "Hey, you're doing the right thing. You're doing it, and just keep working hard. Don't be overly boastful. Just be humble, and your hard work will show."
So if I were to ask you, or anyone were to ask you, "Hey, define how would you define discipline and bearing in small details?" Again, how would you define those if someone were to ask you that?
Discipline and bearing. So discipline, I feel like is uh one of the, I don't know, they're both easy and hard at the same
Hmm.
time. And then once you're using them together, it all is very cohesive. Because if you have discipline, you're doing everything you need to do when you need to do it and offline. So if for me, working out, 5 to 6 days a week, that is a must. That's discipline because there are days where I don't want to go work out and hit legs, chest, or back because I'm still sore from the last workout. But I know that in order to maintain the strength that I have and be stronger to be better prepared, It's just having the discipline of like, okay, let's get out and do it, get my coffee, wake myself up and just go out and just work hard. And then also just the discipline of uh always maintaining myself, maintaining a clean haircut, shaven face, ironing my uniforms once to twice a day, making sure that I look the have the best appearance for me, not only to represent myself, but then everyone who I work with, because we're supposed to be the most professional, most clean, clean and sharp looking individuals in the Air Force, and be the example for others to do the same. Um, but I would say that would be discipline, just doing what you need to do and what you have to do, um, in order to just have sustain just to have, prolonged success. And it overlaps. It keeps going. Once you start having good discipline, it's easier to just maintain the discipline. But bearing is, I feel like once you get it down, it's easy. But that is initially definitely one of the hardest things to get down, because you truly never know what's going to get thrown your way.
Yeah.
There's been a multitude of ceremonies where, whether I had prior guardsmen at a ceremony, and I'm an awards bearer, or I'm doing my pallbearing, and in training, like we work, and obviously in BMT, that's one thing that's always instilled. Head nice, straightforward. Don't laugh, don't cough, don't sneeze, and it truly builds up over time. It's like training a muscle. Your biceps aren't going to get bigger if you're not doing some curls. When you train that bearing, it gets easier and easier, so that once you get thrown that curveball, whether it's somebody intentionally trying to break your bearing in the crowd, or you see somebody, you're trying to stay serious and somebody falls. And it's like, okay, do I help them? No. Like I gotta, I'm doing my job, I'm doing it well, and I'm, staying very stoic. Um, but yes, I think if that explains bearing, um, I definitely think the those aspects of training your bearing and having good bearing to also having discipline, that's why it is very cohesive at the end of the day once they're used together.
Not perfect, man. Great explanation. Do you have, is there like one thing, whether it's for honor guard or even just in your personal life, a small habit or thing that you're disciplined at being very, detailed with, that you believe in your heart 100% to be true and effective, but someone else may think it's crazy? Do you have anything like that?
Um, so
For
I
example,
don't know.
for
Yeah.
example, I know
Can I
it's
give
kind
an
of a,
example?
I wasn't really sure how to frame that question, but it's just something I was thinking about. Like for me, for example, I feel like I can judge a person, tell a lot by a person if I go to Target or Walmart with my wife and I see people who don't return their shopping carts. It drives me up the wall, right? And for me, I'm that guy that'll go put carts back and I'll go pick up other carts because I can't stand that, right? But I feel like it makes the world a better place. I don't
Oh
know
yes,
why.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like some may not agree on this, but I truly feel like you find the diamonds in the rough, like the great leaders, the great airmen who will become leaders, and just great people. This can relate to sports, this can relate to being a artist, but going through and embracing the suck.
Mm.
Like whether it's going through some type of indoctrination, or um, just having some really rough days. I definitely feel like if you really want to see somebody's true colors, true intent, and true heart, and who they are and how they'll act, put them, maybe not intentionally, but if it's a controlled environment, so like say BMT, or what's even crazier, is honor guard technical training, but put somebody or a group of people in a situation where they don't have time to think. They don't have to, they have to act. They have to act, be concise, and commit. I would say, yeah, committing. That's I think where I'm leading, but is committing. And just being sure of your actions, whether you're wrong or right. If you're wrong, okay, you learn from it. And if you're right, then hey, you know what to do. But I definitely think almost, getting put in the dirt and just having to go through really, bad days because had being prime maintenance, there was a lot of rough days. There's a lot of 12-hour shifts and getting hydro and fuel baths and oil baths, and it's just like you're like, oh my gosh. And at the end of the day, you're like, okay, well, I got through it. Like, I think maybe that's just a mindset that I've had because I've worked with individuals who don't have that mindset, and um, you can tell from that way they think is how they set themselves up for the next day. Um, and I don't know, I just have always adopted that, hey, once the suck is done, it's like, okay, it's done. I became better out of that, and I try to look at the lessons that I learned from that. So yeah, just embracing the suck and just getting through it, learning about yourself, and yeah, that's pretty much. I feel like I'm always tried and true with that. I don't care what's going on. If I can help you be a better version of yourself, then I'm gonna try to do that.
That's great, man. Yeah, I think there is something about that when, especially if there's a group of people that are embracing to suck together, it builds a bond and camaraderie. So I can hear you on that. I want to kind of go back to something you discussed a few minutes ago. Um, talked about the importance of, like, you always get your workouts in. What I think is, and especially now, I'm 43 years old, and I realize the importance of that. Um, but please discuss the inaugural United States Air Force Honor Guard Wellness Symposium.
So the wellness symposium, it really was this baby, like this thought that I had because I was witnessing so many airmen come in through BMT, and because we have such a high stress and um, high speed workplace where we're always on the go, always working, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day, and we're back at it again the next day, and sometimes working on the weekends. It can be so stressful, but I do feel like if you have, and this is from learning from how I came up as an airman to being an NCO, but if you have and realize the different aspects that will help you mentally, help you physically, even help you spiritually, but then there's a different aspects that if you start to hone in on them, so hone in on your diet, start working out, get a little bit of cardio in, you realize that, okay, like I'm doing this and I'm feeling really good. Like I'm not having that seasonal depression because it's
Yeah.
really cold outside and I don't want to go outside. Or, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, I don't, you have the mental effect of, I don't like how I look. And that turns into, well, I don't like how I feel. And then it's a almost a slippery slope of many things. And if like you're not getting good sleep, that affect, brain fog, your ability to cognitively do certain things, whether you're hands-on or whether you're on the computer, can adversely affect you. And so um, I wanted to have my airmen get informed on all these different aspects so that they can learn about it and flourish to become better airmen, but then better versions of themselves. And so I luckily had met Rob Wilkins and I connected with him. And from there, it's been collaborative, but it's been a mentorship on creating this event and making it not only just a squadron event, but a base wide event for the 11th OG. And we're also inviting other base honor branches, honor guards. But the Wellness Symposium itself is to enrich and teach the important aspects of having top physical fitness, your version of top physical fitness, and hit on all the aspects of injury prevention, dieting, sleep, mental health when it comes down to just any aspect of the job, whether you're honor guard or not. Um, and also just taking care of your fitness, working out in general, because really you're a better version of yourself when you are working out than from, when you're not. But it's to really just enrich airmen, their families, and anybody who wants to obtain this knowledge to become more physically fit and better for themselves. And then for military service members, to be more, what is the word? More ready for what the mission calls for.
Yeah.
So if you get called, to the line, then you'll be more than ready to attack and perform at your best ability.
No, that's cool. Yeah, how important it is because I was reading about it. You mentioned sleep, but how obviously when we talk about resilience and wellness, there's a lot of focus on the physical side of it, working out, which is 100% right. But how would you or explain a little bit further the importance of sleep?
Oh, for sure. So I feel like, especially being us all coming from being young, being in high school, and then some people experiencing college before the service, or some people who just went straight into the service after high school. When we're young, we're obviously a lot more able to bounce back of like, okay, I didn't, I had a couple hours of sleep. That's fine. I'll come and kill it again the next day. Um, but the importance of sleep, like really getting
Yeah.
minimum 6 to like 8 hours is so optimal for one, recovery internally and externally. So whether it's muscles or um, just internal, like for organs, that sleep to help digest everything you've eaten for the day, turn it into glycogen so you can
Yeah.
have those energy storages. Um, it's obviously very essential. And if you don't get enough sleep, then your body will start to, in a quick response, go into some type of emergency mode. So that can lead to weight gain. That could lead to, bags under your eyes. That can lead to poor performance. Um, and so in all aspects, when you never you never don't feel good when you get a good night's of sleep.
Yeah.
You wake up, you're refreshed, you're like, okay, I can seize the day. And majority of the time that turns into, you know, better habits when you get into, you have a good night's sleep. Um, and so in relation to everything for your health, it's so good.
I love it. Speaking of that, so I want to transition to some other topics and more specific to you. How did it feel to be highlighted in Muscle and Fitness?
Oh, that was a dream.
Dude, like I mean, I can remember when it was a magazine, right? And I used to always add the
Yes.
subscription, but God, man, what a cool opportunity. Yeah, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I grew up. My dad was huge into bodybuilding, and so he would always get Muscle and Fitness magazines and other bodybuilding magazines. And so whenever Rob had teased the fact of, or the possibility of getting featured, I I was all for it. I was like, hey, I was like, yeah, whenever we could get it set up, I would love to. Um, and I'd be very honored to be able to. Um, just be highlighted in some sort like that would just be cool. And once it finally fell through, uh, or followed through, it was kind of surreal that it was happening. I was like, oh snap! I'm like, this is gonna be a real thing. Like I can one, it highlights myself and helps me build my own brand for myself.
Yeah.
Um, but then also it highlights that I'm a service member who doesn't limit myself to just being in the service. Like you can do things on the outside that will make you feel good and make you feel accomplished rather than solely being devoted straight to the work, and not having a life outside of the workplace.
That's a beautiful answer. I love it. And for someone who's been in for 23 years, I can tell you it's important to have outside things. So for me, it's the podcast, and I'm an actor as well. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yes, I love the fact. But muscle fitness, man, like, my goodness, what a cool opportunity! I've said that a couple of times. I saw your numbers. Was it a 5 foot? What's your PR squat?
My PR squat right now is just 500.
Nice.
Um, I'm inching away at 600 on deadlift. I'm so close. I'm like at 585. And then my top bench was in competition, but it was 319 pounds, as is converted to kilos, to pounds. So yeah, 319 pounds on my bench.
So your deadlift is your biggest lift, right?
Yes,
So
indeed.
yeah, so I mean that's incredible. It's that's so impressive. So kudos to you.
Thank
When
you.
you're whether you're pulling 585 or squatting 500 or I guess the most important thing is how much do you curl in the squat rack? That's the most important thing, Joshua. I'm joking,
How
man.
much do I curl?
No, so do you have like a key phrase or kind of like your mental saying whenever you're about to? I mean, because with the 585 deadlift, that's not something you just walk right up to and just let me knock this out real quick. That's a I got to think about. I have to envision this. At least how I look at it, right? But do you have like a go-to saying that kind of puts you in that zone?
So usually my mental process before, like, as the weight is loaded, like I always look at the bar in whatever facet it's in. So it's on the bench, on the floor, on the rack. Um, I look at it and then I'll close my eyes. And it's really just a deep breath. One, I pray for strength, um, and straying away from injury. And then after I'm done with my prayer, which is usually a pretty quick prayer, then I talk to myself. All right, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. But yeah, usually once I'm done with my prayer, I speak to myself. And it's really, as my eyes are closed, I envision myself executing whatever lift it is the way it's supposed to be done. So whether it's going to be a warm-up weight or my max weight, I'm looking at me doing it and I'm like, okay, like you got it, attack, attack. And really, after I say attack a few times, I like take another deep breath. I open my eyes and it's almost like a blank feeling. Like I don't see anything else but the bar. It's almost as if like you get like that spotlight shot
Hmm.
and everything else turns black, but it's like legit I see nothing but the bar and myself, and I don't hear anything. I don't see anything else but that, and I just remember my cues, whether it's setting up my feet, setting up my hands, and usually I take another deep breath, I get tight, and I just execute. I attack and I execute, and uh, 9 times out of 10, usually I get the lift, whatever it is, whether it's squat, bench, or deadlift, but usually I get it. Um, and afterwards, I kind of like once the bar is back where it needs to be, then I like snap back out of it, and I'm like, okay, I just did it. Like that was good.
What
Let's move
happened,
on.
guys? What happened? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 585. Is that new high score? Did I break it? No. Hey, how proud was your dad? What was that moment like when he found out for the first time that you were going to be featured with Muscle Fitness?
Oh, he was ecstatic. I think it was obviously a very proud moment because talking to my dad, he does know he sees the hard work that I put in. Like I do share a lot of especially gym stuff with him, and we talk a lot on fitness, and we'll go to, the Olympia. We like to go and talk about other bodybuilding and fitness things. So to be highlighted in Muscle and Fitness, I think that was like probably one of the coolest things, other than, you know, a few weeks later, or, a month or so later, me telling him that I will be on President Jimmy Carter's carry. But
Wow.
I think that was just a very prideful dad moment for him. It's just like, dang, like my son was inspired by the guys that he saw in Muscle and Fitness, and like watching Pumping Iron and seeing bodybuilders throughout the ages, or throughout the decades, um, that were at the top of their game, and always wanting to uh, be like them in the sorts of, being strong, being disciplined, and just working hard.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. That's amazing. I mean, just something I guess that's the power of influence. Even with you, if you think about it, you were influenced by stuff that your dad. I imagine there was probably a Muscle and Fitnesses or Flex magazine just on the coffee table of your house growing up, and you just walk by, and you might,
Hmm.
if you're on a Saturday afternoon, just read whatever, and it comes into play later on in life. To me, that's why I think the small things matter. So even with you, there may be small things now that you do with Honor Guard where someone's watching and they're want to follow your positive influence. Um,
I
oh,
definitely hope. I really hope that I do inspire.
you inspired me. I loved, when I read that article about you the other day, I was like, I messaged you right away, and hey, I don't even know what I said. I think it's something along the lines. I just saw this, I read this article, and I want you to do my podcast if you're interested, man. So, uh,
Yeah.
here we are. Now, I mean, that's all within the past 4 or 5 days. Hey, transitioning, I want to do what I call the name game. I'm just going to say a name. Just say whatever comes to mind. It could be one word, it could be 2 words, whatever. Are you ready,
Okay.
Joshua?
I'm ready.
All right. Rob Wilkins.
Rob Wilkins. Fitness.
Okay. Oh, that's good because we'll see what you have. I got two more for you.
Okay.
Keon Pearson.
212 Olympian.
It's crazy. I was watching some of his videos earlier, and I'm like, how is this man 212? Like, I mean, he's
Exa- and in person, he looks larger. Like, I've been following him for um a while now, probably almost a decade, because I started following him as soon as the classic physique division
Mhm.
came, and it was always uh Breon, it was Keon, and it was Terrence Ruffin.
Yeah,
And
Terrence
so
Ruffin. I've met before in person, and it's just it's impressive, man. It's just I think he's a military vet too.
he
Yeah,
was Air Force as well.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, but just that's discipline, and I appreciate the sport of bodybuilding and just all that goes into it. I mean, they're what they eat in when's the Olympia?
The Olympia is usually in October.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, like when they start training, 5 6 months out, whatever. So what they're eating in May impacts how they look in October. So much respect to
Yep.
that. Last name Samson Dowda.
Samson Dowda. I would say brother.
Yeah.
I meeting him, I met him in 2022, going to the Olympia, and I want to say that was one of the first times that I was like, man, I was like, dude, you're gonna place. Like you know, I'm rooting for first, but I was like, you're at the top. You're getting there. And he just humbly, he was like, yeah, he's like, hey man, I worked hard, and I'm hoping that, that I peaked the right way. Um, and he did really good in that 2022 Olympia. And then last year, uh, my dad and I made it a point to talk to him again, and it was really just, he's such a humble guy.
Mm.
It's like he's so down to earth. He knows that he's worked hard, and he knows what he deserves. But I think just the connection that I feel like I made with him, and I know he's famous. He talks to a lot of people, but in that conversation that I did have with him, it felt special. It felt like it was meaningful, and till this day, if I see him, I consider him a brother rather than just, you know, just an Olympian, even though, that to win the 60th is crazy. So, um, to win that and then also just be such a hardworking guy, like I feel like he's a great example and, considerable to be a big brother.
So how much? Because you competed, right? You mentioned that earlier, men's physique, and then separately powerlifting. How long you been doing that?
Yes. So I started bodybuilding in 2018. I competed early 2019 at the Eglin Classic. It was a military show. I got first place in men's physique,
Nice.
and one of the tips was to obviously keep growing. And so that's what I devoted a lot of my time to. As much as I had like a crazy busy schedule in maintenance, um, I just was working so like really hard to gain weight and keep the weight on because that's always been a problem of mine. But after a few years, and I want to say it was really when about 2021 when I got here to Maryland to go to the Honor Guard, I stopped focusing on bodybuilding because one, I had a few different injuries that I didn't see coming. I broke my finger, um, and that was like a huge setback because I was gonna compete in 21. But once it was healed, then I really started getting into pallbearing or bodybearing, and I realized that it wasn't necessarily it didn't blend right with the job. And then also, my wife was pregnant, so the devotion that you have to have for bodybuilding when it comes to meals, workouts, posing training, it just didn't line up with becoming bringing a child in and having a family. But powerlifting was a lot more accessible because it was like, okay, well, I can just be strong, not necessarily have to care so much of I need to eat chicken, broccoli, rice. I can really have kind of a free reign of what I eat. I still eat clean regardless, but indulge in, the burgers, indulge in some pizza, like, within moderation, I was still good. Um, but then I started to see, with the inspiration of actually my ALS instructor, she was a tech and now she's a master, but she was actually Maryland state champion uh, for I think 2 years,
You want
one
to
or
give
two
her a shout
years.
out, man? A positive shout out.
Yeah, Master Sergeant Thacker. She's commandant at the Donald L. Harlow ALS school
You know her first
at
name, so I can tag her and stuff and all this.
Jennifer
Jennifer
Jennifer Thacker.
Thacker. Okay, yeah, awesome, man.
Yes, and so
I'll tag her.
awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she's really my huge inspiration because it was in that period of ALS where I was like, man, like I was in a funk. I didn't know really what I wanted to do, and she gave that inspiration of like, hey, powerlifting's cool. It's really easy to get into, and you don't have to be an expert, but you just have to know how to do these three lifts, all in the same day. And I started watching different powerlifters, watching videos that she showed me, and it was, from there it was just like, okay, I can do this. And since then, I've only competed twice, but I've substantially gotten stronger in that time. So this year, I plan to get qualifying totals to be on the Air Force powerlifting team, be represented for that, and then complete or compete in the I think it's military nationals. And I think that happens in Vegas. I want to say it's happened in Vegas, but that's the goal. That's the goal this year that I've set out for myself. So, hey, just gonna work hard and get there.
Heck yeah, man. Good luck to you, man. I hope it does work out for you.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, last couple questions. If there's a movie image, when you think of a movie image that depicts leadership, who or what comes to mind? And it doesn't have to be a military movie.
Picks leadership. Um, Really, what just popped in my head was Coach Carter. That was growing up. That was like, other than remember the Titans, but Coach Carter was one that stuck with me. I wasn't a big basketball kid, but that movie, and just the leadership displayed, where it was almost like a band of bandits. There's no structure. There's no discipline, but he started from he saw what he had and he started from the ground up and was like, okay, like this is how it's gonna be, and molded the team to go farther than they ever thought they probably thought they could go. So I think that would be my image of leadership for a movie.
Yeah, no, Sam Jackson's great in that movie. I think that movie came out in
Hmm.
2005, and Channing Tatum might even be in that movie. It's
Yeah, I don't.
it's one of those movies where people don't realize it. It came out a long time ago, and the all the people went on. It was kind of at the start of a lot of people's careers, with the exception of Sam Jackson,
Hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
uh, one of my favorite scenes from that movie is when he walks into a practice and the players are talking about their stats even though they lost, and then he starts reading off stats and it's about their turnovers and
Hmm.
fouls and stuff, and then he's making a big deal about tying his shoe, and it was just a very powerful lesson.
Yes, indeed.
All right, last two questions. If there's a giant billboard with your picture on it for the world to see, what would you want your billboard to say, and where would you want your billboard to be?
Whoa, that's definitely gonna make me think. I think so. Wait, you said what would you want? What would I want it to say,
Yeah, what would you
and
want
what
your
would I want it
message
to
to
be?
say? Yeah, so as your giant billboard for the world to see, it has your picture on it. You could have the billboard anywhere in the world. The first part of that is what would you want your message to say, and the second part, where would you want that billboard to be?
Okay, so what I would want it to say, and I'm like trying to think of it. I'm trying to let it flow, but um, I would say, um, dang, maybe like in the sense of like, uh, think of like the place, think of the places you can go and ask why not you? Because I definitely why not you is like what I would want to push because you have to have that mindset. You can't you can't sulk, you can't um not put in the work and then expect the reward. Um oh wow,
That's good.
probably um put in the work and I don't know, maybe why not put in the work and expect a good reward? Like why not you? Or something of that sort. I feel like that flowed really nice when I was talking
Yeah,
about it.
it's
But
good. And you know what? That's probably what I'm going to name the episode is "Why Not You." I feel like
okay,
that's a fitting
yeah,
episode.
yeah, I love that saying. I've always repeated it to myself when it came down to opportunities that have been presented or that I see other people get presented, and everything. It could always be intimidating, but why not you?
Yeah,
Why not you be in that position? Why not you get that promotion or that strat or you know that opportunity? Um, and where I would want it to be, um, really, like I don't think there's a specific place, but I would definitely love it for it to be in not necessarily a metropolitan area, but areas where people don't get the best opportunities
mm,
because you never know how that can inspire somebody if they're walking, to the corner store, to the grocery store, riding their bike to go get, an Arizona tea, and they see that, and they've been thinking of this opportunity that they can do, or like wanting to be a starter on the basketball team, wanting to be a starter on the football team, or you know, be the next, great pianist or great violinist, or be on that dance team, like knowing that they have this talent or they have this potential and just asking like, okay, well, why not me? People who are gracious enough to get the gifts presented to them, it's like, okay, like obviously they're grateful, some of them, but for the people who are not as fortunate to get really good opportunities presented to them, and even if it's just in like a, regular town, I feel like having my billboard placed there would help inspire just obviously maybe one person, but millions if they saw it.
Oh, that's great. I was also thinking like Vegas, right? Since you mentioned
Oh
growing,
yeah,
maybe
Vegas, yeah.
right outside the gate when you're leaving the Nellis Air Force Base.
Yep.
I have one last question for you, and this is actually the first time I've ever asked this question. So you're gonna be the first, and I'm gonna start closing out. The billboard used to be my closing question, but
Okay.
I have a new question I'm going to start asking at the end of every single podcast. And in fact, again, you are the first person to experience this. What one piece of wisdom would you pass on to the next generation of service members to help them light their own torch and carry it forward?
Um, I think a message that I would pass on would be don't limit yourself. The more you limit yourself and the more you doubt is how you will stay stagnant. And when if you don't limit yourself, you'll go places you never could imagine you'll go. I didn't imagine being at the honor guard and doing what I've done, but I never limited myself from the start, from the get-go. And you never know the person you'll meet, the place you'll go, the people you'll see. Um, if you hold in that self, that doubt of, oh, well, I'm too nervous to do this, or, I can't speak in front of crowds, or I can't, I don't belong in this, at this ball because there's all these high-ranking individuals. Like, don't doubt yourself. You can do it. Always just take that deep breath and go in because I guarantee you that once you just take that leap of faith, you won't regret it.
I love it. Joshua, thank you so much for joining my show. It's been an honor. I really appreciate you taking that time out of your busy schedule just to talk, and then for allowing me to help share and highlight your story. You're incredible, and it's been an honor.
Thank you. It's been an honor being on the podcast,